Hello and welcome to the second day of Jane Austen week. Today I'm going to be talking about Northanger Abbey. So, what is Northanger Abbey about? Northanger Abbey's heroine is Katherine, a girl that nobody would have supposed to be a heroine, as Jane Austen says. She is not especially pretty, not especially clever, not especially rich, she's just normal, nice. Her father's a clergyman, she's 17 years old, she's a bit naive, she reads too many novels, too many Gothic novels to be specific, but all in all, she's just quite a nice, innocent, well-meaning person. And the novel begins with her neighbours, the Allens, asking her to accompany them to Bath for the season. She is from the countryside, from Dorset, I believe. She doesn't really know the city, she's never been to Bath before, and she is very, very excited. In Bath, Katherine meets several interesting people that make up the cast of the novel. So, one person she meets is Isabella Thorpe, who is the girl that her brother is in love with. Isabella Thorpe is a very intriguing character, probably my favourite in the book. I'm very, very fond of Isabella Thorpe. She is manipulative, scheming, a bit greedy, and so complicated and interesting, and oh, I love her. She's very, very funny. Isabella Thorpe has a brother of her own, John Thorpe, who is rather fond of Katherine Morland, or rather fond of the money that he thinks she will inherit from the Allens, which she probably won't. But anyway, the other exciting sibling pair that she meets in Bath is Henry Tilney and her sister Eleanor. Henry Tilney is a young lawyer who Katherine Morland is quite interested in and finds very, very nice and very entertaining. They get on very, very well, and they dance together quite early on in the book, and she's a little bit not besotted by him. She's not like madly in love with him, but she likes him. His sister Eleanor is also a really nice girl that Katherine gets on very well with. She is less wild, shall we say, than Isabella, a bit less chatty, a bit more quiet and introverted and controlled, quite calm and sensible and really, really nice. Later on in the book, Katherine gets invited by Eleanor and Henry to go and stay in the Tilney family house, which is called Northanger Abbey. They have an elder brother who's not very nice and not around that much. Their father, General Tilney, presides over this abbey and is quite an intimidating character to Katherine. Their mother has been dead for many years, and Katherine starts to see something slightly suspicious in her death. She reads a lot of novels, and when she gets to Northanger Abbey in this big, grand, Gothic setting, she becomes a little bit even more obsessed with Gothic novels and begins to imagine that everything going on around her is some kind of Gothic novel. So basically, the book is about Katherine and her life and her imagination. There are many things I love about Northanger Abbey. The thing I love the most is probably Isabella Thorpe. I think she's a wonderful character. I find her so funny. I just think she's brilliant. I'm also very fond of Eleanor Tilney, who is also quite an interesting character and quite quieter, and I actually probably prefer her to Katherine Morland. I would have been very interested to read a whole book about her, if that makes sense. I reread Northanger Abbey while I was living in Bath, and it was really, really lovely to read about the way Jane Austen describes the city, because I knew where all the streets were, and I knew, like, the house where the Tilneys are supposed to live. I had walked past that house, and I'd been to the assembly rooms and the pump room where they meet, and that kind of stuff, and that I really enjoyed. Having lived in Bath for a year, Jane Austen's Bath novels, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion, have a particularly special place in my heart. I do enjoy the kind of Gothic parody going on in Northanger Abbey. I think it's very funny, especially if you're kind of more aware of like the Gothic movement in the 18th and 19th century at large. The things that I don't like about Northanger Abbey, they're not really things I don't like, it's just I don't find anything that special in Northanger Abbey. I'm very fond of it, as I say, and Isabella Thorpe is one of my favourite characters in Austen, but apart from Isabella Thorpe herself, for me, the rest of Northanger Abbey is quite normal. I mean, one of the important things I think about Northanger Abbey is that it is a very realist novel, maybe more than her others. Even though it is about a character with a big imagination, the whole kind of point of Northanger Abbey is that it is contrasting Katherine's imagination with what's actually going on. And the kind of love story at the heart of Northanger Abbey is quite a kind of normal and ordinary one. Katherine, apart from her imagination, is kind of ordinary and normal, and Henry Tilney is kind of nice and normal, and the love story doesn't have that many ups and downs. I don't think it's as complicated a story as some of her other novels. It is much shorter than her other novels, and she did write it, we think, before Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, maybe about the same time, we're not really sure, but for me, Northanger Abbey feels like an earlier work just because the plot is less complicated and less developed, and there are points in the plot which could be much more dramatic than they're actually made. So that's basically why Northanger Abbey is not one of my favourites and is so low on the list, even though I'm really fond of it and I can't really fault it. Like, there's nothing particularly wrong with it, but it just doesn't make as big an impression on me as her other novels. And that leads us on fairly nicely to this adaptation of Northanger Abbey. I've never seen any other adaptations, but I'm very, very fond of this one. It has Felicity Jones playing Katherine Morland and Carey Mulligan playing Isabella Thorpe, which is maybe part of the reason why I love Isabella Thorpe so much, because I'm a very big Carey Mulligan fan, so that probably like increased my general love for Isabella Thorpe as a character that Carey Mulligan played her. Anyway, I just think the whole film is done very well. It's only an hour and a half. It was a TV movie on ITV, but Northanger Abbey is one of Jane Austen's novels that actually does work in an hour and a half because, as I say, the plot is not that complicated and it is quite a short book. And they do this thing with the ending where they just make it much more dramatic just by changing, not really even changing anything, just by cutting out like one tiny scene. They really build the drama and the tension in a really effective way, so I really enjoy this. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Northanger Abbey. I do like it a lot, but yeah, not my favourite Jane Austen novel, but soon we will be moving on to Jane Austen novels that I love much more, even though I do love Northanger Abbey, just, you know, not as much as some other ones. But anyway, let me know down in the comments if you have read Northanger Abbey and what you think of it, and I'll be back tomorrow with more about Jane Austen.